There's a lot going on and a lot of moving parts that have been really difficult. All in all, it incorporates all majors
to really get a feel for what a news broadcast is like.
And that electricity and that energy, knowing anything could happen and we're going to get through it together, that's what drew me into it.
Today, we are going to be covering our midterm elections from 2022. We have this broadcast biannually, so the last one that we had was 2020. So we have many students that are ready to be involved in this production. We have about over 200 students total involved, whether it's from graphics to newsroom to producing to publicity. There is an outlet for anybody and anyone of any major to get involved. So I am very excited to execute some accurate, up-to-date, and pristine midterm election coverage.
Hofstra Votes Live came from our dean, who worked at NBC for like 30 years, really to give students across the School of Communications the ability to work on a massive broadcast and to really feel what being on a news set is like.
Essentially, they're training us on how to be a part of any team in a 4-hour-long simulcast. It's heard on YouTube and on a television channel, and it's listened on the radio, and there's so much that goes on behind this that, like, as students, we're getting experience to do things that people actually do at, like, real jobs, and it gives us that, like, extra leg up.
It incorporates all majors. We have PR students working on the social media aspect. We have journalism students that are doing all of the content. And we have TV production students and film production students handling the technical side of the production. So I have a little bit of two roles. I am kind of the head of the directing team and the style of the show. And I've also been kind of acting as a associate coordinating producer with Noah Weiss.
Hofstra Votes Live is easily the craziest thing we do here. It is just this massive production with so many different talented people involved. I think we have, what, like 150 people or something that we're directly talking to all night long. For us, as directors, we're kind of like spearheading it, so we're kind of like the captains of this here pirate ship.
It's very interesting because we all have little pieces that overlap. So like we all know how to use a camera. We all know the basics of putting together a story, but how we go about putting together stories is very different across all disciplines.
It's really easy because that's what happens in the real world, right? So we're not very siloed out there in the industry, right? The directors work with journalists to put on newscasts every day, especially for huge shows like this, breaking news. So we're taking all of the expertise across all of our platforms, across all of our majors, and we're putting that all together and simulcasting, so we're going out on the radio as well as TV, and we're involving everyone in the School of Comm, whoever wants to be involved, in helping to be part of this major project that showcases the best of what we do here.
I think it's important to realize that, like, we're not each other's competition. These people that we're working with right now, whether it be radio or journalism or PR or TV or any of that, we're gonna be each other's peers as we enter the industry together. And that I think while you're siloed by different majors, you're not siloed by a major once you're in the workplace. And you need to learn more than just like publicity. I've learned how things are functioning and going, and my understanding of how different parts of this broadcast are working in turn makes me a better PR professional. And now I have lifelong connections in so many different aspects of the industry that I want to work in that can help support me as I have a job and be an adult, which is really scary and crazy.
I do see it continuing because the students love it, right? And what happens is when freshmen come in, they might have smaller roles the first year, right? So this year, the incoming freshmen, they've only been here for a few weeks, right? So they don't quite know everything yet, right? So it can be a little bit daunting for them coming in, but we encourage them to participate so that in 2 years from now, when all of a sudden they've learned all this knowledge across those 2 years, they can start taking team leader positions, right? So what the students do is pass their knowledge on to each other. And so if we do keep doing this every 2 years, we can keep doing it forever because there's always elections, right, to cover. And it's always going to be an important skill for our students to learn how to handle this type of breaking news situation.
Being a senior, I've taken a lot of different classes, but this was something that I was particularly interested in. I was also involved in the 2020 Hofstra Votes Live as a field reporter, so I knew that when it came time for this year's Hofstra Votes Live, I wanted to take on a bigger role.
Going into this year, I knew that I wanted to get involved in any way that I could. And I'm also the producer of Hofstra Today, one of the Heat Network shows. And I've always just kind of had a love for producing, and I wanted to definitely get my footing and take on like a larger role in a bigger production like this.
Gaining this level of experience in college is amazing for once you graduate and you're working in the actual industry, because employers really want to see that you know how to work the equipment, because that gives you a leg up in such a competitive field. And Hofstra really does an amazing job with that. For Hofstra Votes Live, I'm the production designer. My main focus has been with Studio A because that's where the decision desk is, that's where like a lot of the coverage is going to be. There was a lot more to kind of work with the actual big decision desk, what goes on the wall behind it, like in the psych, and then the stuff on the floor. I put some stickers on the floor so that when we get the jib shots, you have something to look at, and just to make sure that there's enough interesting things going around the set that the camera people have something to actually look at when doing bump shots.
What we try to do is empower our students to be in charge of this whole project, right? To make the decisions. We as faculty mentors are here to support them, to guide them, and to help them when they have questions, but we really want them to take ownership of the broadcast and to be proud of this work because it's their work. And this is something that they can go on and use this for internships and for jobs moving forward, showing what they have done themselves.
Politics is something I've never really touched at all in my career. I've always been very focused on entertainment and television. So I thought it would be really cool to broaden my skills and work on something that I'm completely not used to. So doing publicity for a political broadcast when I almost have no political knowledge has allowed me to grow as someone who is entering the workplace.
For me, I've always been interested in politics. It was something that was very important in my house because my dad was a journalist. As I see, as I look ahead in like the next 25 years, I would love to work on a political campaign or to work in, the White House would be amazing. Like Veep is my favorite show of all time. So it's always been in the back of my head. So it was something I had to do. It was almost like my due diligence to give back to a school and to give back to a broadcast that to this day means so much to me.
I'll be honest, this was my dream since I came here. Directing has always been like a passion of mine, and I haven't really been able to get into it until like very recently. So I'm actually I think of all the directors, I'm like relatively new to this. This is maybe the fourth thing I've directed. And it's just such a dream come true. Like I got the call from our senior director, Rowan. I was at the Yankee Stadium actually, like, hey, you're directing Hofstra Votes Live. I freaked out. And it's just been the most amazing experience, and I've learned so much. It's been amazing.
I'm not particularly too interested in the elections, but I do love directing and the television aspect of it. And I was like, Hofstra Votes Live is kind of as crazy as it gets because it's one of those, it's something that we don't typically do as much because it's breaking news, so it's coming at you fast and it's not really planned, so it's kind of like the hardest directing you can do. And
Which has definitely been crazy.
The hardest part, I feel, is figuring out that rhythm, because every show has its own rhythm.
I have some experience with on-screen before I came to Hofstra and my first year as a student here. But we had practices every Friday for 2 hours where we learned different things. And I found myself in preparing my questions for tonight's event just all about trying to see anything that might happen and getting ready for it. Kind of like playing chess a little bit.
We do a lot of rehearsals to simulate it, but there's not really much we can do exactly to prepare for it. We kind of just have to listen to our producers and make sure that they know what's coming next so that we can tell our crew what's coming next and kind of just practice, changing things on the fly and being ready for any situation.
Yeah, it's really all about communication. Just making sure we always know where we're at, where we're going, and what's going to happen. Even if we don't always know what that is, as long as we have something to tell our crew, we can stay on it.
Hofstra Votes Live, out of anything that you can get involved in the School of Communication, mimics the real world the most, just because of how last minute the world decides what the polls are going to look like, and then we just need to make those decisions on the fly, and you really can't get that experience anywhere else except for Hofstra Votes Live.
I'd also add that it's really important to be this involved in politics and elections, because it is your civic duty and it's really, really important to exercise it. And being able to report on it, you get to follow it even more in depth and learn even more about the candidates, the races, the key issues. So I just say it's an awesome way to get involved.
It's never too early or too late to get involved, whether you're a first semester freshman or you're in your last semester before you graduate in December. I think Hofstra Votes Live is an amazing opportunity because it's just a great group of people working together to reach a common goal and to do something that really not many other schools, even communication schools, anywhere in the country, even the world, get a chance to do.
Stay open-minded. Things are going to go wrong, and we can't always plan for that, but we can plan around it, and we can know, we can make workarounds. And I think also just keeping a level head. Don't overstress yourself. Try to, keep yourself calm. Keep your crew calm. It's very important. Make sure you're sleeping. Make sure you're drinking water. The bare essentials of life.
Definitely take a deep breath because things get very crazy and very hectic because this is such an involved show, and this on top of all of your classes, it's going to get very, very crazy. Make sure you're communicating with people because that will help alleviate some of the stress to make sure that everyone is on the same page, and have fun with it.
It's going to be hard. It's not always going to be easy. There's going to be people that don't believe in you, that don't believe in your abilities, but you just have to believe in yourself, and that's all that matters.
Definitely having a good support system, having people that you can turn to and kind of bounce ideas off of is really important.
Do everything you do with a smile, because elections are tense, people are tense, and if you can be that one person that smiles at someone and makes their night a little better, do it. Why not?
I would say just focus on what you're in charge of and make sure you do it to the best of your ability.
It is a big production, but at the end of the day, everyone has their part, and as long as everyone stays on top of themselves and takes care of their business, then all should be well. So definitely, to prospective students coming up, think about what your interests are and just do your best.